Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I've got a high-aged sherry finish bourbon on the bar. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got BAM. This is MR16 McFarlane's Reserve. So right off the bat, let's talk about the age of this one. So it's called MR16. It doesn't say it's 16-year age stated. What it does say, it's a blend of 16-year bourbon blended with 14-year bourbon finished for 2 years in PX sherry casks. So no matter how you slice it, this is a high-age bourbon. Now, obviously, the age statement has to be the lowest aged bourbon in the mix. And so this one, I don't know if the 14 years was like 14 years total and 2 of the 14 were in the sherry casks, or if it was 14-year bourbon finished for another 2 years in sherry casks. Either way, I think if you add 2 years of a finishing cask onto the aging, I don't think you can count those 2 years in the age statement since you're no longer in a new cask. But I honestly, that's kind of a gray area that I guess I really don't know that I've come across in trying to figure out how old a bourbon is. So either way, this thing has got high age and a long finishing process. So it's, I'm expecting good things from it. Truth be told, I've already had this and I got good things from it. It is 90 proof. And right off the bat on the nose, really, really dark, bold, and rich. The age comes across for sure, and the sherry cask finish definitely comes across. It's just like dark fruit and oak. There's a little bit of, there's an interesting kind of a little bit of a sweetness. I would say the primary like sweet note would be kind of like a brown sugar. They're darker aromas. A little bit of caramel. Maybe a little faint vanilla. This does come out of Tennessee. So I know every time a bourbon is sourced from Tennessee, people fear that it comes from Dickel. I don't know on this one. There's not a whole lot of information. As far as getting that typical mineral Dickel note, I think if you were looking for it, you might be able to find it, but you also might be mistaking that for the heavy wine finish on this. Because I always get, you know, when they say the Flintstone vitamin note from Dickel products, that always comes across as kind of like a fruity sort of vibe, and this definitely has a lot of fruity vibes to it. But we'll talk about that later. Let's get into the palate. Cheers. That's a really, really interesting whiskey. Really good. I will say right off of the bat, the strong points about this is that at 90 proof, this packs a ton of flavor. It's, but it doesn't pack any of the extra ethanol bite, so it's kind of all flavor, no ethanol bite. And I do sometimes like a little bit of that alcohol punch with my whiskey. I know it doesn't add any flavor, but to me it kind of adds experience. I would kind of compare it to like drinking a Coke with no carbonation in it. Like sometimes you just want that little sting. This has a little bit of a sting to it, but it has an appropriate amount for 90 proof. But I gotta tell you, the flavors, I think, are drinking above 90 proof. The sherry note is very, very bold on this. It's kind of all like darker, like grape and fig and raisin. And it's all that bold fruit notes up front, like on the front of the palate. And then kind of on the back, there's like a brown sugar and oak note that are really nice. And I think those flavors actually blend together really well. But the finish on this is actually really good, at least in my experience with it right now, where it's very smooth, and I don't mean that in a bad way, just very approachable. And it's light up front. You get those flavors, but then there's kind of a wave of flavor on the back end of it, on the finish, that kind of lingers for a little bit here. So it has a longer finish than I also would expect from a 90 proofer. Let's have another sip here. Yeah, that has definitely has a bold kind of fruit note to it, but there's a darkness to it as well. It's not like a bright red fruit. Again, those kind of like fig and raisin and grape sort of notes. There's almost like a cherry cola sort of vibe to this in a weird way. And I've had that on other bourbons before. And it's very light, but it's kind of there. And on that second sip, I did notice a little more. Again, I don't know where this comes from. When it comes from Tennessee, Dickel is a likely contender. When I had this before, I've had a pour of it once before doing this review. I didn't really pick out any sort of Dickel vibes from it. I was just really getting more of that upfront sherry influence. On the second time of having this, I could see how somebody could maybe pick those out, and it definitely could be that. I don't know for sure, but again, you could conflate that with just the influence from the sherry cask finish. So take that for what it is. If you don't like Dickel products, you may not want to roll the dice on this. It is $120 at Total Wine. I paid $100 for it, and I paid $100 for it after I had a sample of it. So I liked it enough that I figured I'd buy it and review it. Also, I can't find anything online about this one, so I might be the first one on YouTube with a review of this. So if that helps, you know, that's what I'm here for. So anyway, let's go in for the third sip here. So yeah, in conclusion, I think this is a great whiskey actually. Now, full disclosure, getting back to the whole, is there some Dickel influence here? I don't, for the most part, mind that. I know a lot of people hate that. I don't mind it. And so if I hated it, it might be a little easier for me to pick that out of this if it is there. But to me, this is coming across as nice and fruity, a lot of oak, some brown sugar sweetness. It's got a decent long finish, so it's got a decent mouthfeel to it as well. Again, it is a high-aged product no matter how you slice it. So getting down to the price, Total Wine tends to, this is one of the Spirits Direct brands. I've had McFarlane's Reserve 13 before and really like that. I believe that's a port finish, or it's some sort of Cabernet finish maybe. 13-year bourbon, but that was, I think, a wheater. A lot of McFarlane's Reserve's like core products are actually wheaters, and so I don't think those come from Dickel. And again, I don't know that this does, it's just that it comes from Tennessee. So this one is a little bit different than their standard profile, but as Spirits Direct products go, I really don't mind McFarlane's Reserve. I actually have liked the products of theirs that I've had. I think Total Wine gets their markup on these bottles because the McFarlane's Reserve 13-year was $100 at Total Wine. Now, a 13-year aged product that's finished, I mean, 100 bucks? Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a ridiculous price, but it is an expensive bourbon. And then one of my favorite liquor stores also got the McFarlane's Reserve in because other stores can sell these products. They're not just exclusive to Total Wine. And she did her standard markup that she does on all of her bottles and sold it for like 50, 55 bucks. So Total Wine is definitely getting their, you know, the reason you're getting your Old Forester and your Wild Turkey so cheap at Total Wine is because they're marking these up so high. So if this was at a different store and it was 70 bucks, I would probably buy this again. Again, I paid the 100 for it after having a sample of it. I think this is a great one that people who are into bourbon can enjoy and people who are new can enjoy because it is very approachable, and having those kind of the sherry influence kind of makes for an interesting kind of experience with it that I think beginners would like, but also people that are into bourbon. You're not getting something that's super watered down at 90 proof. Like the age definitely kind of compensates for some of that, and the finish does as well. So overall, I think this is really, really good actually. I'm gonna really enjoy making my way through this bottle. This video will probably be released after Christmas, but I am gonna bring this to the family Christmas. I think this will be a good one to bring and kind of add to the whiskey tasting that I like to do with family members. So anyway, let me know if you guys have had this one. By the way, speaking of having this one, on the plus side, Total Wine usually does samples, and they did have a sample of this bottle available, so you can try it at the store before you buy it, so that's a good thing. So I'm going to be looking out for this one at other liquor stores in the future to see if maybe they'll sell it a little cheaper than Total Wine does. But yeah, I certainly don't regret dropping the somewhat premium price on it. But anyway, yeah, let me know in the comments if you've had this one. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. This has been MR16 McFarlane's Reserve on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. We'll see you in the next one.